The ramp lights at I-17 and 7th Avenue in Phoenix are that ugly orange that makes everything look a little unreal. You roll up on the bike late on a Friday night, engine still warm, helmet buzzing in your ears, and you're just waiting on another red before you can finally get home. Another rider pulls up next to you. Maybe you tangled a mile back over a lane change. Maybe he's been riding your rear tire. Maybe it's nothing, just a look that lands the wrong way when everybody's tired. What we do know is this: by the time that light turned green, gunshots had been fired, a car had plowed into one of the riders, and by sunrise both motorcyclists were dead. You're in the garage, the house is quiet, it's just you, the tools, and that part of your brain that never really shuts off from thinking about the next ride. This is Haunted Throttle Night Shift Tune and while you tune up. Tonight we're talking about one thing, and one thing only: the fight between two riders near Interstate 17 and 7th Avenue in Phoenix that turned into a shooting, a crash, and two funerals. What happened? What we don't know. And what it should change about the way you handle road rage on a bike. Let's roll. On the calendar, this is just another line in a police log. Friday night, November 28, 2025. On the map, it's a familiar spot. About the 2000 block of South 7th Avenue in Phoenix, right by the I-17 overpass. On the street, it was chaos. Just before 11 o'clock that night, Phoenix police get a call about a motorcycle crash. When officers arrive, they don't just find a wreck. They find two riders down. One with multiple gunshot wounds, the other with life-threatening injuries from being hit by a car. Later, detectives and the department's media advisory fill in the outline. Two men on motorcycles are stopped at a light near the I-17 ramp. A fight breaks out at the intersection. In those few seconds, one rider pulls a gun and shoots the other. A third driver in a car sees what's happening and ends up hitting the shooter with his vehicle. Paramedics rush the two riders to the hospital. Both are pronounced dead. Over the next couple of days, Phoenix PD and local outlets released the names. The rider who was shot and killed is identified as 36-year-old Scott Kikes. The man police say fired the gun, and who later died after being struck by the car, is identified as 53-year-old Job Martinez. The driver of the car is detained, questioned, and released while investigators and prosecutors sort out whether any charges against him make sense. And that's about where the official story stops for now. Detectives are still working it. There's talk of cell phone video. There are interviews to be done, and a whole lot of questions the public doesn't get answers to yet. Here's what we don't have, and this is important. We don't know what happened in the miles before that red light. We don't know if there was a near miss, words at another intersection, or some long-running history between these two guys. We don't know who threw the first punch, or what was said in those heartbeats before somebody reached for a gun. So I'm not here to tell you a hero-villain story. I'm not here to pretend I know what was in anybody's head on that ramp. But if you ride, here's what this looks like from the saddle. You're rolling through city traffic, late, tired, maybe a little wired. A rider chops into your lane closer than you think is reasonable. You throw out a hand inside your helmet. Now he's mad. He comes back around and parks next to you at the light. You can feel it starting to boil. That little box of pavement between the white stop line and the crosswalk is where so many bad decisions get made. You're amped up. You feel disrespected. You've got adrenaline in your system and nowhere for it to go. On a bike, everything already feels personal. In that moment, you've got, realistically, 5 seconds to decide what kind of story this is going to be later. You can stare him down, shout, throw a hand, maybe kick a bag. You can roll the throttle hard the second that light flips and try to prove a point. Or you can do the most boring, un-rock and roll thing in the world and just let it go. Look away, put your feet back on the pegs, and ride in the opposite direction of the drama. On November 28th in Phoenix, whatever happened in that box of pavement ended with a guy on a bike pulling a gun. Let's talk about that. I'm not going to do a big political speech about gun laws. Arizona is a place where a lot of riders carry. Some of you feel safer that way, but carrying a firearm on a motorcycle in traffic is like playing with dynamite while you're standing on a gas can. You are exposed. You have no cover. You've got one hand on the bars, maybe one on a weapon. The bike is moving. The people around you did not sign up to be extras in your bad day. If you fire in a moment of rage, you're not just aiming at the person who pissed you off. You're aiming at every minivan, rideshare, and late shift nurse heading home in a beat-up sedan around you. In Phoenix, a bullet ended one rider's life. A split-second reaction from a driver in a car trying to make sense of what he was seeing ended the others. Different weapons, same result. Two families getting a call in the middle of the night instead of hearing a bike in the driveway. So what do you actually do with that as a rider? First, you decide ahead of time who you're going to be at the red light. Not in the moment. Not when your heart rate is spiking. Right now, in the quiet of your garage, with a wrench in your hand, and somebody snoring down the hall. You set the rule before you ever put the key in the ignition. Maybe your rule is, I do not engage. I don't chase. I don't pace. I don't play games with people who want to fight in traffic. If somebody cuts you off, you give them space. If somebody wants to drag race to the next light, you let them blast off alone. If somebody pulls up next to you clearly looking for a problem, you angle your bike away. You watch the hands, and the second you can do it safely, you get out of their orbit. Turn off, pull into a gas station, change your route by one exit. 60 seconds of annoyance is cheaper than any lawyer and any funeral. Second, if you carry while you ride, you have to be brutally honest with yourself. It is not a magic shield. It does not make you the main character in a movie. It is a tool you might one day use to defend your life, and every other use case is a fast track to prison or a grave. On a motorcycle with no cover and a dozen uninvolved people within 100 feet, the odds that drawing that weapon makes you safer are very low. Third, remember that the people in cars around you are wild cards too. In this Phoenix case, a driver saw what was happening and hit the suspected shooter with his car. We don't know yet exactly what he saw or what was going through his mind. Was it panic? Was it an attempt to stop further gunfire? Was it a split-second overcorrection? Those answers will take months of investigation and maybe end up in a courtroom. But from your perspective on the bike, here's the takeaway. The minute a situation gets loud, violent, and confusing, you have no idea how the people in those 2-ton boxes of steel around you are going to react. Some will hit the brakes, some will freeze, some will floor it in whatever direction looks safest to them. You do not want to be anywhere near the blast radius of that chaos. So, let's zoom the camera back out. 2 men threw a leg over their bikes that night in Phoenix. They had lives, jobs, histories, people who loved them. Maybe they'd ridden that same stretch of 7th Avenue 100 times before, half asleep. Just another commute home. Somewhere between the on-ramp and that red light, something snapped. A collision, a shove, a look, a word. A history we don't know about. A fight at the line. A gun comes out, a trigger is pulled. A driver reacts. 2 riders never make it home. If you take anything away from this, let it be this. You cannot control the idiot in traffic. You cannot control the hothead on the sport bike who thinks every lane change is a personal insult. You cannot control the guy who had a bad day and brought it out onto the freeway with him. You can control how much of your life you're willing to risk over a moment you're going to forget in a week. The next time someone drifts into your lane, rides your tail, or stares you down at a light, picture that ramp in Phoenix. Picture 2 bikes, 1 car, sirens, tape, and families getting calls before dawn. Then do the boring, grown-up, deeply uncool thing. Back off, breathe, take the exit, live long enough to tell the story later as the wise old writer in the corner of the shop. Not the name in somebody's news segment. Out on the road, your ego is cheap, your life is not. This has been Haunted Throttle Night Shift. Tune in while you tune up, ride like you want to come home, and I'll see you in the next one.